Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be with you. I am Dr. J. Frederick Templeman, and this is Dr. Ramida Watanapokasan from Thailand. We're going to be talking to you today about research with the mangosteen. But before we begin, I think it is very important for you to understand that we will be talking about research which is done in vitro, meaning in glass literally, and that talks about the growth of human cancer cells in a petri dish. We will also be talking about in vivo animal studies with cancers, human cancers. But what is important to take away is that the information we will be talking about cannot be used as a basis for concluding that the same observations we can see in vitro or in animal studies can necessarily occur in human beings. It would be wrong to conclude that this research has any direct relevance on human cancer, except that we can conclude that there may be qualitative benefit from the use of the mangosteen as a dietary supplement. We cannot talk of it in positive or in absolute terms because there is no quantitative benefit that has been proven. The trials have simply not taken place. It is also important to understand that if you are excited about what you hear today, it would be normal that you would want to get more information. The studies that Dr. Watanapokasan will be putting out will be written and published within the next few months. At that point in time, we will make certain that you can find the journals in which these articles will be published and read them for yourself if your interest goes that deeply. What is important is that you do not attempt to contact the universities where she has done her studies, nor if you have received previous information regarding the content of her studies, do you want to make that public because it would prejudice her ability to publish original material. We do not want you to contact the universities because we are now beginning to obtain some of the respect from very important and prestigious academic institutions which will allow us to push the research for the mangosteen much more fervently than we have in the past. If a large number of people were to contact any university involved in this study and were to pester them, and you'll excuse me for using that term, to get the information, it would irreparably damage our relationships with academia and make it certain that we would set back the program of research into this wonderful food supplement for many, many years. So please, do not take more from this information, which is very satisfying and very important by itself, and do not contact the universities involved. Thank you. Now, I'm going to be asking Dr. Watanapokasan a number of questions that I hope will allow us to understand more fully what she has been doing and what the results have been. Dr. Watanapokasan, you have been in the United States for the past year?
Yes.
And you were doing research on the mangosteen fruit, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you using the whole fruit or an extract, or what were you using in your studies?
I use the mixed xanthone.
So mixed xanthones.
Yep, and also the alpha mangosteen.
And alpha mangosteen, which is one of the xanthones which was particularly extracted and used additionally.
Yep.
So you were using the elements from the plant known as xanthones,
yep.
And you were using them in both in vitro studies and with animals?
Yes, but I concentrate on the mixed xanthone in the animal.
In the animals?
Yep.
Okay, so although you did some in vitro studies, the major part of your study during this year was with animals.
Yeah.
Now, could you explain to us why, when we are investigating the medicinal potential of plants, that we use animals first?
Oh, because after we get the in vitro results, so we have to step, to the animal. Because, for example, I use mice because
Yes.
they have the mice and men has about 85% of the DNA sequences that they have the 85% similarity.
So that in the species of mouse that you are using,
Yeah.
there is an overlap with
Yep.
human beings,
Yeah.
and 85% of the genetic material would be similar.
Yep.
And that, therefore, we can conclude that if we see certain results in mice, then there is a stronger probability that the same thing could be seen in humans.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Good. Now, in the studies that you did with the mice, what were you looking at?
I try to induce the tumor, human colon cancer in mice,
Okay.
and then after that I inject the mixed xanthone
Into the human...
into the tumor.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you would take a needle,
Yeah.
draw up some human cancer cells,
Yep.
colon cancer
Yeah.
cells in this instance,
Yeah, I grow up the human colon cancer cell
in a culture.
yeah, in the culture.
And then draw it up in a needle
Yep.
and inject it under the skin of the back
Yep.
of a little naked mouse.
Yep.
And then you would watch while the mouse incubated the tumor and
Yeah.
it began to grow.
Yeah.
Now, you had just one group of mice. How many groups of mice did you have?
At least 3 groups. Yeah.
At least 3 groups.
Yep.
Could you explain to us why you used more than one group of mice?
Yeah, because we have to make sure, like, okay, it really works. It really works.
So you have one group
One
of
group
mouse
of the control.
of a control.
Yeah.
And this means that the mouse is injected with the tumor cells,
Yep.
the same as the others,
Yeah, the same.
but it does not get any intervention.
No.
Nature simply takes its course.
Yep.
Okay. And then in the test group of the mice, you inject the xanthones into the tumor itself.
Yep.
Now, what was the third group?
I did more than 3 groups because I have to vary the concentration of xanthones.
So you were attempting to see whether small,
Yeah,
greater amount,
yeah.
or the greatest amount
Yep.
would make a difference.
Yep.
In your observations, did the stronger dose of the xanthones work more effectively than the weaker dose, or was there effect at all doses?
Yeah, I mean, at the low dose, it has some effect at the beginning, and after that, the tumor start growing.
Again.
Yep. But at the higher dose, we can completely, like, the tumor finally will be gone.
And you had significant LD50 results.
Yep.
Now, LD50 means that lethal dose, which will kill 50% of the tumor cells after the tumor has been injected. And these were, it showed a good, strong effect.
Yeah, because before we go to the animal model, we have to get that results first to make sure that in the in vitro system, it does kill that type of cancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the LD50 is referable to the in vitro studies,
Yep.
where you can clearly count the
Yep.
size of the cell culture. And then when you inject into the animals, you observe the reduction in size of the tumor. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you are measuring the tumors, do you measure in very small amounts, millimeters?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you see with the tumors in these mice that were in the test group?
In the test group, once we inject, the tumor get a bit bigger, and after that, it will start regression in the size.
Okay.
Yep.
Now that regression took place over what period of time?
The one that works very well, just a week.
In 1 week there
Yeah,
was tumor regression.
Yeah, tumor regression.
Now in some of the photos which I saw, it appeared to me that to the naked eye,
Yeah.
the tumor was completely gone.
Yeah, that one. Yep.
So there
completely
was
gone.
complete removal of the tumor
Yep. Until we can't measure.
until you were unable to measure,
No.
and you were using millimeters.
Yep.
So it had to be extremely small if
Yeah.
the tumor was still present.
Yep.
That's very exciting. Now, I understand that you have studied the mangosteen previously back home in Thailand. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that you are on the faculty of the School of Medicine.
Yes.
And what is your disciplinary study? What degree did you receive and where?
I obtained a PhD from the University of New South Wales.
So you did your postgraduate PhD studies in Australia.
Yep, Australia.
So you have undergraduate degrees in Thailand.
In Thailand, yeah.
Did you do a master's in Thailand?
Yep.
So you did your master's and your undergraduate in Thailand.
Yeah.
And then you went to Australia.
Yeah.
And that's why you speak such good English.
Oh, thank you.
But you have also studied in other countries, is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Where have you gone?
Oh, I have been to Japan.
To Japan?
Yep.
And how much time? Probably you went several times, I think.
Yep, almost
But
every year.
almost every year. And so in total, how long did you study in Japan?
Maybe 13 months.
About 13 months?
Yep.
Good. And where did you study?
In Hiroshima University.
And that's a very prestigious university?
Yeah, and also Yamaguchi University.
As well. So
Yep.
in 2 universities.
Yep.
Well, this is interesting because the world of science is becoming very small. Researchers now are able to go to many different countries to study the same kinds of phenomena. And so Dr. Watanapokasan, or we could call her Dr. Ramida,
yeah,
which is easier
yep.
for me. And in Thailand, in fact, it is appropriate to call a doctor by her first name.
Yep.
So Dr. Ramida has studied both in Thailand. She is on the staff of a medical school in Thailand. In fact, at the university which has done the greatest number of studies on the mangosteen. She has studied in Japan, and she has also studied and obtained her PhD, her doctorate, from Australia. Now, you're going back home for the first time in a year.
Yep.
And you're going to enjoy yourself, I would imagine, getting back to your family.
Yes.
She has made a great sacrifice in that she has stayed away from her family for over a year in order to be able to do this study. So she'll be going back home. But she isn't going to stay long. I understand that you're going someplace in April, is that correct?
Yes.
And that we're not certain how long you'll stay there, but where are you going to go?
I'm going to the Vienna Medical School in Austria.
So you're going to the Vienna Medical School in Austria.
Yep.
And you're going to study cancer in the mangosteen there?
Yep.
What type of cancer will you be studying?
It's going to be the skin cancer.
So you're going to look at dermatological
dermatological,
cancers.
yep.
Great. That is going to be exciting.
Yep.
Now, you need to know that when she came to America, Dr. Ramida was a Fulbright scholar. This is an honor that is relatively rare. And she studied at what I would consider to be the most prestigious medical school in the United States. I'm sorry that I'm not going to say the name of it because I'm afraid there would be too many contacts. But she has studied at the most prestigious medical school in the United States. She has studied at prestigious medical schools in Australia. She is on staff at a prestigious medical school in Thailand. She has been in Japan studying, and she is now going to go to Vienna in Austria and study dermatological cancers and the mangosteen. Now, Dr. Ramida, as a researcher, and a researcher is not involved directly in clinical care, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you do most of your work in laboratories?
Yes, in laboratory.
So how does the results of your investigations, how does that get into the medical field eventually?
Eventually, actually, I mean, the next step, after the in vitro experiment,
Yes.
and then in vivo in mice,
Yes.
next step is going to be clinical trial in human.
In humans.
Yep.
So that you would develop a compound representative of what you have been using,
Yep.
and then it would go to clinical trials in humans.
Yep.
And then if the results are good, that's when we might see a drug,
Yeah.
which would come from your studies.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yep. But it's going to take time. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it
Yep.
will take time.
Yep.
And do you enjoy studying natural products?
Oh, yeah, very much. I mean, I'm interested in all the natural product. And it is very good because, it can help many other people.
Yes,
Yep.
especially in Thailand where
Yeah.
the mangosteen is common.
Yep.
Now, there is a traditional medical history that goes back centuries in Thailand
Yes.
for the use of the mangosteen. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
When you were a child,
Yeah.
did you use the mangosteen?
I guess yes. Maybe I have. Yep, I have used it.
And it would have been your grandmother or your
Yeah.
mother who would have told you about how to use it?
Yep.
And lemongrass and many other herbs are used
Yes.
medicinally within the Thai culinary area,
Yes.
so that your foods are prepared
Yeah.
with many herbs in them.
Yep. Many herbs in there.
Yeah. I was looking at a study not too long ago that indicated that Thailand has one of the lowest levels of cancer in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there could be many reasons for this,
Yes.
but possibly we do know that eating properly and eating and using herbs and whole foods that contain the kinds of nutrients that our body requires to protect us against disease, including cancer, that this is important. And that is, in my mind, the probable reason why the Thai population has such a low level of cancer compared to other places in the world. Now, are you satisfied? Do you get great satisfaction from the idea that you may be working on something that could eventually be used to treat cancer in humans?
Yes, I'm very satisfied. Yeah.
This has been the goal of your whole career?
Yes. I think I will also proceed or continue this research. Yeah.
Okay. You have studied many natural products, correct?
Yes.
Has the mangosteen been the product amongst all of the natural products that in your mind has shown the greatest promise?
Yes, it is now. I mean, I feel very impressed with this
So
mangosteen. Yeah.
it was kind of a search
Yeah.
to try and find the most impressive product,
Yeah.
and in your mind, this is the mangosteen.
Yes, that's correct.
This is exciting.
Yeah,
Now,
it is.
my job in the United States is to talk about the mangosteen in a food supplement.
Yes.
And you know that in Thailand, people don't necessarily need food supplements because they eat the herbs and the whole foods
Yeah, all the
right
time.
in their diet.
Yes.
But in North America, we have unfortunately problems in our diet that make it virtually necessary to supplement in order to get the nutrients that our body requires.
Yes.
And there has been recently a wonderful product containing the mangosteen that I recommend to people. I was involved in clinical medicine, so I had hands-on work with the patients. I used drugs, and later in my career I began to use alternatives such as food supplements.
Yes.
For me, the mangosteen also, in my process of weeding things out, has been the food supplement that I think holds the greatest promise for benefit when people undertake nutritional interventions when they have diseases. Because I'm convinced, and I think that most doctors are convinced, that when you are going to try and do something about a disease that you may have contracted or about a condition that is developing in your body which could threaten you or threaten your welfare or your life, that the best thing you can do, the absolute best thing that you can do, and the first thing, and something which is completely under your own control, is you start to eat differently. And amongst other things, you should choose excellent supplements, whole food supplements, because there are benefits in whole foods that cannot be found in others, and implement that as the very first step in treating any serious disease. Now, from what you know as a researcher, would you think that that is correct?
Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Do you eat differently? Do you eat the mangosteen now?
Yeah, I do.
And do you take the mangosteen as a form of food supplement?
Yes.
Good. I do as well. Many other doctors have begun to do this. And I am convinced that researchers, world-class researchers, like Dr. Ramida, will be coming to the same realization that she has come to, that the mangosteen is a wonderful source, a treasure trove of nutritional ingredients that the body needs and that the body can use to perform the functions that it must perform in preventing disease and in attacking disease if disease is present as it moves towards a restoration of equilibrium. Well, Dr. Ramida, this has been wonderful talking with you.
Yes.
And I want to thank you so much for taking your time and coming and making available to us the information from your studies.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the things again that we have talked about today. Dr. Ramida is a researcher. She works with animals and she works with cultures in laboratories. She is not a clinician. I am a clinician. I work with people. But neither one of us wishes to give you the impression that the information we have presented is anything but very promising information about the mangosteen. And we want you to understand that we cannot conclude with any degree of certainty that there will be benefits in the human body the same as we saw in Dr. Ramida's studies in vitro and in the bodies of animals. As she suggested, more studies are required. But this is promising, and this makes it very reasonable for people to use. It strengthens the resolve and makes it very reasonable for people to use the mangosteen as an addition to their diet. It is important to understand that in your bodies, the mangosteen doesn't do anything. The mangosteen is a source of nutrients. Your body will choose to use those nutrients for whatever it requires. This is true of all foods. And when you have and take into your body nutrient-rich foods, the body's job becomes much easier. That's what the mangosteen does. It helps the body maintain the functions of equilibrium and homeostasis that must exist for health to either be restored or to be maintained. We want to thank you for sitting down and talking with us, and we're going to keep track of Dr. Ramida, and we're going to watch her career as she goes to Vienna and as she publishes her papers, and we'll make sure that you can get this information, and at that point in time you can draw your own conclusions. Thank you.